Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Super Turbo 64, the podcast in which two friends talk about video games to their heart's content. I am Jason Vandervoort, and I am joined by, once again, and in person this time, with my good friend Jeff Ross. Welcome back.
Hello.
All right, it's good to have you back, and having us recording this in person again.
You know, we're risking it. The viruses, they're out there.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just, stuff is starting to open up.
It is.
The governor is doing things.
He is.
The things are happening.
Things are happening. Governors are doing things that are happening.
Really close on the news.
Yeah, Jeff's a real news buff.
Yeah.
But it's like, we're doing the best we can with what we are given.
Yeah.
And you know what? I would probably say that we're recording from about 6 feet apart from each other. So it's fine.
Good.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just get right back into, the nitty-gritty of what's been going on. I mean, Jeff and I, we had in the last few episodes we had mentioned that, we'd both been kind of on we'd both been kind of on leave from our work, so we had ample time, to kind of play games and just kind of, enjoy the finer things in life, which for the most part related to Animal Crossing. But things move on, and you never really play Animal Crossing for a super long time. You play it.
I don't know. I played it for like 2 months.
That's true. Like, you play it passionately for a while, but then it's like, because the game doesn't have like that necessary or like a real beginning, middle, and end, you stop playing when it's just, you think to yourself, well, I guess
I'm done.
Basically, yeah. So, I mean, I've kind of had a bit of a second wind with it. I stopped for a while. Basically, I had all but given up on doing anything revolving around the turnip market. I was done with it,
Mm-hmm.
But I've just kind of, I just pop on, once or twice a week, check in on the good old inhabitants of Comfy, make sure that they're being well taken care of. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, that's just been, I feel like, I've settled back into my Animal Crossing retirement. I was an Animal Crossing salaryman for a while, and now I'm just reaping the rewards.
I've been using the verb rot to describe what's happening to Backbeat right now.
Yeah.
I have not been checking in on it. The stock market really kept me going for a while. I was intrigued, and then I had a big loss one week where I lost about 200,000 bells, and then
so much money.
It's compared to some people, whatever, but compared to my own earnings, it was a lot.
Exactly.
And,
yeah.
I stopped checking in, and once you break the routine of that game, you're like, there's a couple of days where you're like, oh, I should probably check in on old Backbeat and see, make sure that nobody's starving to death, and then after a while you're like, I could play games that have gameplay.
You could, but I mean, just think now, like, as we speak, more and more weeds are just sprouting out of the ground across Backbeat.
Well, maybe Cherry should pick some weeds herself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who said that you as the main player character should be the one who does all of the weed stuff?
Yeah, are you, citizen representative, or are you lead servant to Tom Nook, master of all? That line, it gets thinner and thinner all the time. Yep. So I'm sick of licking that Tom Nook's boot paw.
Boot paw. You know what? Good for you. I'm still licking it, but I lick it far less frequently. It's just like, it's been a few days. And then I get my fill of it.
I think that if the game loaded instantly, I would play it more.
Oh, sure, but it takes
literally like a minute and a half.
Yeah,
it's not that long, but
it's
enough for me to be like, well, I'm going to play it for a minute and a half.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And then half my time is spent looking at a little island with
little
waves.
Boat. Yeah. Right. So, in the absence of Animal Crossing, what have you been playing? What is life after Animal Crossing looking like for you?
let's talk about what I've been playing. Yeah. I've been playing Assassin's Creed 4. And I literally, it happens sometimes, I literally had a dream about Assassin's Creed, and I'm like, I should get back into it at that point.
That's a good sign. Like, if you're a person who takes signs from their dreams, just... Yeah. Yep. All right.
And
it's time
so,
to be a pirate.
That game is 7 years old now, and it shows, you know?
Yeah, right.
It's, but it's some people's favorite game of a popular series.
It's mine.
It's your favorite game of the series.
Black Flag is my favorite Assassin's Creed game. It's either that or Brotherhood.
Okay.
You know? Yeah, it's just... I liked the mechanics of it so much. I enjoyed the gameplay of the characters. It's just, it's a fun one. Like, I don't know. Kenway, he's a fun protagonist.
He is a likable character.
Very likable. He's a rogue, you know?
Yeah.
Rogues are inherently likable.
A nice drift apart from the typical, like, Ezio, just like this passionate monk, basically.
Yeah.
Compared to what, you know, and Connor is also very serious. And
yeah.
But Ed Kenway, he's like, I'm not even in this creed, you know, for most of the game.
Right.
I'm at chapter 8. There's 13 chapters, or I finished chapter 8 or something like that. And there's he's still not an assassin technically yet. He's still not an assassin. And he's I don't know. It's funny. I told you this earlier. It's like you picture a line at like the 50 degrees on the y-axis. That my interest level for the game cannot dip below 50, or else I'll stop playing. And the line, like my interest has been hovering at like 55.
Yeah.
Out of 100.
You're teetering. The game is interesting you just enough, but I mean, if much more happens, you're out.
Stop.
And that was for me one of the games I really hadn't put much time into it. But one of the more games that I had more recently tried was Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
And it's like, the bummer with that is, you know, it's a game that was just so universally loved, it seemed. I mean, on the box for it, it shows, you know, all of the incredibly high scores it got. You know, it gets 10 from this publication, 9.5 from this one, 9 from this one. And it's so, after a while, you know, you're playing the game and you're not enjoying it, and you're just like, is it me?
Right. It really is sometimes
right.
Just us.
Yeah, but it's just for whatever reason, like it could not keep me, you know, above, to use your y-axis thing. Yeah, I was, you know, I started at about, you know, 60 just because it's like, world is interesting. But then, I went below 50 way sooner than I thought. Like, I'll have this tendency where a game might go below 50 for me, but if I've made it far enough along in it, you know, I just kind of have this thing of, all right, let's just
power through.
See it through to the end. But you know, it was way too early in the game for me to get below that 50 mark, so I just dropped it, you know.
Understandable. And in fact, one of our mutual friends just told me, Ryan Stoll, he said that it's like, he's like, have you played Horizon Zero Dawn? It's amazing, you know. And it's just another person out there just to tell you that's lots of people love that game.
Yeah, Techie loves it. It's one of her absolute favorite games. And so that was like kind of the main reason that I wanted to try it, because it's like, you know, hey, I wanted to share in this game that, you know, she really liked, wanted to give it a try. And it's just, I couldn't help but feel bad that it's just like, hey, I'm sorry, but it just didn't work for me. And like my connection to this was, you know, about a year ago, I tried Assassin's Creed Odyssey, another game that so many people thought was just so good. And I couldn't even get through about the first chapter-ish. Yeah, exactly. It was another game that dropped below 50 very quickly. Yeah. And it's just, it was weird because, like, it's still Assassin's Creed to an extent, but, like, it drops so much of what I kind of classically associated with Assassin's Creed.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of why I'm playing 4, because was a devout fan from 1 through 3.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a classic franchise for us.
Yeah, and once I got to 4, I didn't finish it.
Yeah.
And Unity came out, and it had a very rocky launch, and I'm like, this sucks. And then I stopped playing it. That was the game after 4.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, I haven't played Syndicate or Origins or Odyssey, and I'm like, I used to love these games. I want to see if I can get back into them. And it's a weird mindset to have.
It's
like, why do I want to play a game?
Exactly. Yeah. Why am I trying to get back into this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we're in very similar positions where it's like I did finish Assassin's Creed 4, but I didn't get Unity just because the launch of it, like you said, was so incredibly rocky.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have much interest in it, and enough time had passed, and then when Syndicate came out, I was just thinking, this looks cool. The idea of an Assassin's Creed game with the backdrop of London street gangs. I'm like, okay. Hell yeah, let me do this. But I didn't play it,
Sure.
And then after that, the Assassin's Creed franchise, I think, had just gotten enough flack, for the way they were doing things.
Right. Recycling the same game every year, basically.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
The main criticism is that they didn't make new stuff, make original things for the game often enough.
Right. Yeah, so they did that thing where they go back to the drawing board.
It's like a soft reboot for Origins.
Yeah, exactly. And so with Origins, which also I haven't played, but it's still an Assassin's Creed game, but they totally revamped so many core aspects of it in the fact that it is kind of more of an RPG.
Right.
And so for me, that should have been that moment where it's just like, okay, because I'm such a big RPG buff.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of RPG that I'm not super, super into.
Sure.
So I didn't feel super compelled to try it. But then I got Odyssey just because I had bought our mutual friend Chase. He sold me all his PS4 games when he sold his PS4. And so I thought, all right, it's Odyssey.
Yeah.
Let's try it. I'm ready.
Yeah.
So we've both kind of had this interesting, attempt to get our toes back into Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. I mean, on the surface, it's such a cool idea for a video game. It's like a historical assassin game. That's awesome. That's
exactly.
Just awesome.
Yeah.
And
just so incredibly appealing.
And what I come to realize, what's missing after 3, and they dabble in it in 4, is that they no longer have any real-world, modern-day storyline. And a lot of people hated anything to do with Desmond. And
sure.
I was somebody who thought, I want to I want to see what happens, what's happening in 2012 or whatever.
Sure.
And I think they they had that big build up until the apocalypse or whatever was going to happen in the real world.
There was a lot of intrigue.
Exactly.
So what was nice is because you had that backdrop. You knew that they were going back into the past because they were looking for
reason to do it.
Exactly. They were looking for those answers that could hopefully kind of prevent this.
Yeah.
Specifically they were looking for those artifacts.
Yeah.
And so you were compelled because all of these things you were looking for, you knew that, okay, how is this going to directly affect the story that they first introduced us to?
Yeah.
And I know there's a bit of that kind of mechanic going on in 4 with that first person point of view.
Yeah.
Thing,
and it's
so
it's tacked on.
It is, yeah. And it's, you got a bit of that element of corporate espionage, which, corporate espionage tied to a pirate game. I dig it. It's a cool comparison in that regard. But yeah, it's still I don't know. It's been interesting to kind of figure out where for us personally why we dropped out of the Assassin's Creed franchise when we did, and kind of are both trying to find ways in which we've kind of tried to get back into it.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's made me think a lot about why I'm playing video games, and and we've talked about that on this podcast before,
right?
But whoops, my mic is getting all wibbly wobbly.
Yeah, scoot it a little bit, like tighten the part a little bit towards me, so that'll stop the swivel from happening as much.
Okay, yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Anyway, what was I saying?
You're basically trying to understand the why in why you're playing video games.
So I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and we've talked about it before on this podcast, but like I had an experience today where I switched from Assassin's Creed 4, where my interest level is hovering at 55 out of 100.
Yeah.
And then I switched over to Stronghold Crusader for the PC, a game that was even older than Assassin's Creed.
Right.
So, but it's nostalgic for me, but anyway, my interest level was at like 110.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. I'm loving every second of this.
Yeah.
The announcer, the characters.
Greatest Lord.
Exactly. There was wood that was needed. And
did the people worship you, sire?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, they did. And then I'm like, man, this is awesome. I got to the point today, like, it was a different kind of flow state. Like, there was the state where I was grinding Assassin's Creed 4, trying to get through the story as soon as I'm possible.
Yeah.
I'm like skipping so much side stuff that it's telling me every time I start a mission that has the ship involved, it's like, you should upgrade the jackdaw before you start this mission. I'm like, sorry, bud, I can't. You know?
I would, but I don't care.
Yeah, like, I don't have the materials, and I'm not going to sit there and grind for materials just to upgrade the ship.
Right.
And so there I am, I'm like avoiding the grind, and in that game, and I'm in this mindset of like, I have to get through this. Then I skip to like a game that I played on a whim, and I'm like, I want to play this to the point that I like had to stop because my hunger level was too high. Like, I was getting too hungry. I'm like, I can't.
Right.
I gotta move on, but
can't bring myself away from it.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. Do you ever feel that way? Like, do you have revelations of like, oh yeah, games are supposed to be fun? And
absolutely. Oh my god, yeah. Like, yeah, it happens. It happens quite a bit. I have been on a Metroidvania kick recently. And so I just finished this indie Metroidvania called Chasm. And so, like, you know how basically any indie Metroidvania that you come across, it's either we're trying to be Metroid or we're trying to be Castlevania. You know?
Yeah.
Because that's the inspirations that pretty much they all come from. And so, like, Chasm is definitely more on the Castlevania aspect of things, more in the fact that it's just like, you know, fantasy setting and just more of a focus on, you know, like leveling up and gear, I guess, a little bit more than, say, Axiom Verge, which I've also been playing.
And I gotta say, I would be remiss if I didn't disagree a little bit. I think that a lot of these games have their own identities, even though they get classified as a Metroidvania.
That's true.
You know, like Ori or Hollow Knight or something.
I guess,
like that.
yeah, that is true. I am.
You're
really
generalizing a little bit.
Yeah, I'm way drastically oversimplifying it, but it's just like, you know, you can't, like, when your genre is called Metroidvania,
sure,
the game that you make seems to definitely say,
you
like,
can draw on those two games a little
exactly,
bit more than
yeah,
the other or something like that.
Right,
yeah.
right. But like, Chasm is cool because, you know, I've played a couple of Metroidvanias where their castle layout is procedurally generated.
Sure.
And I've played ones, you know, where every room of the castle is meticulously laid out, like Hollow Knight.
Right.
So Chasm kind of does a little bit of both. Like, parts of the map are somewhat procedurally generated, but many parts are the same. So it ensures that you still will kind of have roughly the same journey, but the rooms that you went through to get there will be a little bit different. So, like, it's kind of a fun best of both worlds. And so as I was playing Chasm, I was just having a blast, you know? It's just like a good Metroidvania is hard to top for me.
Yeah.
And after I finished it, I finally was like, I had this thing. It goes back to that, like, you know what? This is a series that I've tried before, didn't work, but I feel like I would like it if I just went for it.
Yeah.
And again, but it, like you said, it's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Because like that expectation that you should like this thing.
Yeah.
And so I tried Bloodborne again.
Mm-hmm.
And
that game is so up your alley. Like,
yeah, I know.
The yeah.
Exactly.
Victorian England, like Cthulhu bullshit, basically.
Victorian Cthulhu bullshit. Exactly. It is. Yeah, it's so up my alley. And so, but it's like I've now tried Bloodborne twice.
Yeah.
And both times I stopped in the same place.
Yeah, Father Gascoigne.
Father Gascoigne. Yeah, it's just like fuck that guy. But yeah, it's just like, again, it's just I understand that loop that the game is supposed to give you, you know, because like you have that thing of eventually you start to learn the map layout, the way the enemies attack you, and so like your engagement comes from learning that.
Sure.
And also just the fact that your combat is just so like your actions have such
tight
weight.
As heck.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, you know, Dark Souls games, or just the Souls-like genre, I guess, if we're, again, oversimplifying, you know, there's elements of Metroidvania to that genre, you know? Because you've got this big interconnected world that, you know, you kind of explore at your leisure. And there's still gonna ways like the way you find shortcuts and just, you know, the way the puzzles kind of solve. You know, and so after I finished Chasm, you know, I thought, hey, now's the time. But
and
like,
it wasn't the time.
It wasn't the time, but it's like it's still kind of the time because
the time's up.
The time's up. Yeah. So it's like, yeah. After I gave up Bloodborne again, and I'm sure like some Souls player who is listening to this podcast is just like.
just like, upset.
Yeah.
Boiling. I don't know. You know, if you get upset that somebody doesn't like your favorite game, then, you know, it's a personal problem.
It is.
The problem lies with the person who's upset in that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I really think that you're just a fucking idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a... No. No, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, the thing is that I had the same thing with Father Gascoigne as you did. I got stuck on him for like hours one day.
Right.
And I kept playing because it motivated me rather than like dismotivated me or demotivated me. And so I just kept going until I won, and when I won it was like I had an orgasm basically. So I sorry. Is that gross enough for you?
No, nothing to apologize for. I was just trying to come up with like, was there a pun to make about that? But I couldn't, like, in the moment I just couldn't think of it.
Anyway, yeah. So I mean, it's not for people. Some people are gonna like it. Some people aren't gonna like it. That's fine.
Yeah, I think the thing that really kind of clicked with me after a while is, you know, it's been this growing trend for me as I play games, you know. I definitely like games that, you know, have a tiny bit more story focus, you know, and whereas like there's no shortage of storytelling and lore in the Souls games, you know, you just have to kind of
traditional sense.
Exactly. Yeah. You just kind of need to know how to look for it and kind of also to piece it together,
right?
You know, because there's interpretation that you can have as to what is going on. And I like that, but it's just when I think about, you know, oftentimes the way like how I play games now is, you know, when I'm playing games now, it is, you know, it is a comfort thing, you know, and just like gaming for me is just kind of a way that I'm able to just really fully relax.
Yeah.
And so that's why I've really come to enjoy these story-like games a bit more, is because, you know, I'm able to relax with them, and it's like, but I still have enough agency in what is going on.
Sure.
So, yeah, but it's like, it's weird though, because, you know, a few months ago, one of the free games on PSN was Neo, which is a Souls-like game.
Yeah.
But it's not made from Software.
Yeah.
And so I've been playing that a little bit, and it's early, but it's like, so far it's working for me.
What do you think is different about it? Haven't hit that roadblock?
I mean, I am about to face like my first real boss, it feels, you know? But the combat definitely feels a lot better to me.
Okay. Do you block in that game, or do you dodge only?
You can block and dodge.
Okay.
Yeah. There's blocks, dodges. You're able to tell instantly that, you know, because you have a stamina gauge.
Yeah.
And so do your opponents.
Okay.
And you see their stamina gauge. And if they overexert themselves, they put themselves in a position where, like, they're kind of momentarily tired. Yeah. And if you time that right, you can do incredibly damaging moves on them. So you've got this real kind of back and forth that happens.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it has some more traditional RPG stuff that, like, I don't like in abundance.
Sure.
But, like, its level up system is the same as, like, a FromSoft game where you're putting a point into these various things, and it'll give you stat boosts in however these many billion categories.
Sure.
But you also do get your conventional skill points that you can put into a ladder that will teach you various moves and whatnot. So I think the biggest thing that I took from me not enjoying Bloodborne is, you know, in my time playing it, you know, I really had nothing to show for the time I put into it.
Yeah.
You know, whereas with Neo, you know, even if I haven't necessarily finished the level or beat the boss, I've found enough stuff. Like, I was able to get a couple of skill points, I found some new gear, and I found some cool secrets. So, like, I found enough to feel as though that time was still spent towards something constructive. So, like, with Bloodborne, and, like, you know, with the however long it took me as I was going against Gascoigne, all I had to show for it was frustration.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And I got no soulgasm afterwards, Jeff.
You came up, you found it.
Exactly. Yeah. Patent pending on that term.
Okay. Yeah, it's sort of like that comfort versus tension, right? That's what you're talking about, where games can be comfortable for you with this, like, this enjoyable, relaxing story that's happening.
Right.
But at the same, like, or you need some people need the tension to keep like, distract themselves from whatever's going on or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think that there can be a little bit of comfort in, like, the grind, I guess, of like going after the same boss over and over, but I think the tension during the moment is the highlight of the game. And
absolutely.
I was playing a game today, a demo for Unto the End. It's an indie game that's sort of like, I would say it's like Limbo meets Nidhogg. And
wild.
It's so you got the same sort of, like, movement as Limbo, but you have, like, the fencing from Nidhogg, where you have, like, you duck, you block high, block low. It's 2D, obviously, 2D platformer, left, right. And you can, like, shoulder check, and you can, like, fake attack, and you can, like, all these cool things. And, like, I was stuck on a fight that for, like, 10 minutes at least.
Okay.
Where it was 2 orcs, and like, you come in, the first orc dies easily, the second one throws javelins at you, and like, there's aspects of that game that make it, like, cinematic in the moment, and I was, like, delighted, even though it would kill me sometimes. But, like, if you take, like, a gut shot from, like, say they stab you in the gut, you might, like, keep fighting for a while and then, like, sort of bleed out a little bit.
Sure.
And not, like, die right in the moment, but just, like, you're stunned, you fall to your knee or something like that. Cool. And, like, it just, like, that happened to me in times where I'm like, you know, he got me and then I got him and then I'm like, oh, I can't move, and then he's about to finish me and I roll away or something like that, you know?
Nice.
And anyhow, that game is going to be awesome. But that's the tension that like really kept me going. There's nothing really relaxing about that game, but
Right. And it's like I know you've definitely found a lot of enjoyment out of the games that create that, because I mean you've gone through Bloodborne,
yeah,
you've gone through Dark Souls 1 and 3,
yeah,
part of 2,
right,
and you also went through Uncharted on its hardest difficulty, Last of Us on Grounded. So it's like you've managed to find a lot of enjoyment out of that experience.
I feel I played Uncharted on hard. I tried
hardest, right? Okay.
I tried the hardest on the first game, but I chickened out basically.
Okay.
But yeah, I did go through like The Last of Us on the grounded mode, and it's a certain type of gameplay, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, for me, it's like playing Dead Cells or Slay the Spire. They're both like roguelikes, but one of them is like there's no chance that I'm gonna miss a dodge in Slay the Spire.
Right, because it's turn-based.
Yeah. Versus Dead Cells, like I could die by misclicking, basically.
Yeah.
So, like, the game gets incredibly difficult. But we're talking about difficulty in video games again. But I think that what I'm trying to get more, what I wanted to talk more about was just like how the mind state that we're in, like whether we're in the grind or whether we're playing games for fun or playing games to finish a story. And I think that's the problem for me with the storytelling in video games part of things, where for Assassin's Creed 4, for example, I'm sitting there and it's like a drip from an IV, but I'm trying to, like,
I can't make that sound. I tried. That's better.
And it's something where I want to watch the Assassin's Creed version of Pirates of the Caribbean that takes an hour and a half. But what I'm getting is Assassin's Creed 4 that takes 30 hours or whatever.
Right. So,
like, I don't know. It's something that we got to find those games, and that's why it's such a, for lack of a better word, a blessing that there's so many good games out there that we get to pick and find those perfect games for us.
I just saw this thing. It was a statistic I saw on just a random YouTube video the other day. Like, this may not be a super current figure, but at the time of the release of that video, it was said that about 20 games are released on Steam every day.
Oh yeah, no, it's crazy. Like, we called it shovelware the other day, right? I mean, it's not like we invented the term, but we were talking about like this company is just producing content. Some of it is just rip-offs of other games. In fact, it's funny, I played a game today called Devolver Bootleg, which is them ripping off their own games.
That's funny.
Well, they're the games they publish, and it's a collection of 8 games. First on the list was Enter the Gun Dungeon. And they're all like put in an 8-bit style. Second on the list was Hotline Milwaukee.
Oh no, that's even better than I could have dreamed. I was like, what's the Hotline Miami remake?
Yeah, there was Ape Out Jr., where it's like Donkey Kong Jr.
Nice.
Except, you're throwing dudes across the wall. That was probably the most fun actual game in the set.
Yeah.
What else was there?
Just outside of the sheer novelty of doing.
Like exactly. Like Enter the Gun Dungeon was a terrible game, but it's funny that it exists. And
right. Yeah.
In fact, when I bought the game, it gives you when you turn it on the first time, it gives you an achievement that just says, "Ha ha 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 ha." It's nice. Like it's laughing at you for paying $5 to play this game, but
all for those achievements, baby.
Yeah. I also got an achievement for activating the start menu or whatever.
Nice.
So, whatever.
Even something I can accomplish.
You can do it, Jason.
Wow.
There was there was a game. Apparently, it's a game I haven't heard of before, but it's a Castlevania game where you play as a cat in a bodysuit of armor in a Castlevania style game. That's fun.
Why isn't that game of the year?
Why not? pun-based gaming. If puns were the like leading factor, then Enter the Gungeon would win Game of the Year for 2015.
Speaking of that, how's your spiritual successor to Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Oh, my pun. Oh, that's right.
How's work going on Who Doth Slain King Macbeth?
Thanks for bringing that up, Jason.
You're welcome.
Of course I haven't started on it. I love the idea of it. It still makes me laugh too.
Right.
Who doth slain King Macbeth, and having to write soliloquies. What if you had to pick iambic pentameter?
Oh God.
In the moment, like which we were just listening to like a card game where Sean was telling us about a game that was poem based or whatever, but yeah. But my point is, I have not started work on Who Doth Slain King Macbeth.
Okay, if it makes you feel any better, I haven't started the spiritual successor to Mega Man Legends, by the way.
What are you gonna call that?
I don't know yet.
Yeah,
that's how behind I am on production of it. I don't even know what I'm calling the damn thing yet.
Super Dude Stories.
Super Dude Stories. Okay,
yeah.
I'll put it on the whiteboard.
Okay,
we'll see how that's going.
That'll be great. Can't wait.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, I don't know. That bootleg game was a blast, and I was just in a good mood today playing these games, you know.
That's kind of one of the things that has kind of happened behind the scenes in between the episodes that we've been doing is you got a PC.
That's right.
You have a gaming PC now. You are just the gaming world is just it now fully your oyster.
I was like raising my arms like look at all these games, you know.
Yeah.
Like, it's just.
That's got to have part of it, like, because you have just this newfound sense of wonder, just because it's like basically every great game that that you've heard of in the last few years that was not available to you is suddenly available to
absolutely.
you.
So, you know, it's just a matter of like I gotta, you know, be calm and collected, not waste all my money at once. You know, I'm just like I don't want to spend. I want to buy Sekiro and you know, Disco Elysium and like Black Mesa and all these things like just right away.
Instantly, yeah.
I should, you know, the summer game sale is around the corner.
Right. Yes. So you've got the opportunity. Yeah. You're kind of just slowly dipping your little toes into the pool.
Absolutely. Oh, another game I've been playing lately.
Yeah.
Not that. But Legend of Bumbo. That was
one of the big. It was one of the big motivators.
That was a game that I desperately wanted to try when it first came out, and I finally got to try it out.
How long's it been out now?
Oh, less than a year, but more than 6 months. I think.
Sure.
It's something that Edmund McMillan, who made my favorite modern game, Super Mario World. No, Black.
Binding of Isaac.
I'm freaking out here because I know I said Super Mario World as a joke, and then I said Black.
Something.
Like I was gonna say Black Mesa again or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh my God, it's my favorite game.
I haven't tried it yet, but I love it.
What's it called?
Yeah. I've only put hundreds and hundreds of hours into it. And I should figure out the name by now.
Yeah.
But
names are hard, man.
Tell me about it.
How has Bumbo treated you? And it's
like it is very difficult for me.
Yeah.
And it's fun, and I've unlocked about half of the characters now.
Okay.
And so I'm making progress, but when it clicks, it's like in the Binding of Isaac 4 Souls, you know, when you get that synergy to work out, and you're like, it's as if you just designed a little contraption yourself, and you're like, yes, I've beaten the game. Like,
work for me.
Yeah, exactly. I've defeated you, Edmund, wherever you are. Yeah. What else you been playing lately, Jason?
Let's see. Yeah, beat Chasm, which just the game started my new Metroidvania kick, you know, and it's just
And how is Axiom Verge going for you?
I like it a lot.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. The soundtrack,
It's a banger.
It's so good.
Like every song a banger.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think I've unlocked 4 to 5 regions in the map. I think the last time I logged on, I think it said that I was maybe about 30-ish% of the way through. Or at least with map exploration.
Okay.
You know? And so, yeah, it's been a very fun experience so far. Really, gosh, outside of that, I started playing Trails of Cold Steel 3.
Oh,
yeah. Which has been just, very, very fun. It's interesting, because like with going, I've been playing these games that are part of just these very storied franchises that also have these like long spanning narratives. So, I mean, just to start, would have been last year, I played Kingdom Hearts 3, and I've been a Kingdom Hearts fan since I was a kid,
Yeah.
And so I got to see the payoff for a story that's been being told, or has been told, for over a decade. And so all those character relationships and struggles that have happened throughout all the core mainline games and all of the countless spin-offs. And so then I had that, and then probably the next series that I went into that, kind of had, a big story unfolding over a good chunk of time was Yakuza.
Yeah.
Because I cannot go an episode without talking about Yakuza. But yeah, and it's so like, not too terribly long ago, I finished Yakuza 6, which is like the culmination of Kiryu's part. Yeah, so Kiryu's story within Yakuza, it is basically done. So the next Yakuza game is going to have brand new protagonist. And so I'm really excited for when that comes out.
Yeah.
And so now kind of the next series that I've been really kind of digging into would be Trails of Cold Steel. And as I've mentioned the series, in a previous episode, but yeah, it's like, we've got Trails of Cold Steel 3, which is the third game of a 4-part series.
Yeah.
And then that series is essentially the third in a 9-game...
Oh.
Yes, yeah. Because you've got 3 games of Trails in the Sky, the 2 games in the Crossbell arc, and now the 4 games of Cold Steel.
Wow.
Yes. So, like, I'm playing Cold Steel 3 now, and with only kind of having some background knowledge about what happened in the previous 5 games. But what's cool is, like, in the first 2 Cold Steel games, you are a kid and his class who are going through school at a military academy in this fictional country. And in Cold Steel 3, there's been just a short time skip. You have since graduated, and now you are a teacher. And so now you go to teach your own version of this class at a new academy. And so, and all of the friends in that original class, they've all kind of moved on and are living their own lives.
Sure.
And what's cool is, like, in just maybe the only 5-10 hours that I've put into the game thus far, like, I've encountered characters that were just the smallest of side characters in, say, Trails 1 and 2. But here they've shown up in Trails 3, and it's like, and they have also, like, their lives have kind of moved on. It's just like, you have this kid who was just kind of this, kind of a nerdy kid in Trails 1 and 2, and now he's grown up, and he runs the radio station in the town that you're working in.
Okay.
So it's like, yeah, like, all of this stuff is kind of progressing. And it's just been really fun in playing Trails of Cold Steel 3 to just kind of experience this world that has just kind of been growing and changing throughout all of this time. So it's got me just, like, very invested in it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
It's being able to see a story or a setting evolve is pretty cool.
Yeah. I think the first time, Kingdom Hearts kind of counts, but I think the real first time that I experienced, you know, just how powerful telling a game over a series can be that can just really leave a powerful impact on you would have been Mass Effect.
Right. You know, we were just watching a video by Game Maker's Toolkit about Mass Effect, and that it really does have, like, it sets up this beautiful setting of a universe, you know, and like, you impact the universe with your actions.
Yeah.
This galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, and you make your way through this 3-game arc.
Right.
And you eventually fundamentally alter how everything is going to be from now on, you know. It's a great example of what you were just talking about with that setting that evolves with you.
Yep.
And it's something like I want to see more games that take previous save files and move it to the next game.
Right. That's such a cool thing.
Yeah.
But it's I get it from the developer's point of view, you know, because, I mean, because, you know, you never know, you know, not every game is going to be able to deliver that thing. I feel like I've mentioned it before, but it's like, you take Shenmue. Like, you had Shenmue 1 and 2 that was released on the Dreamcast. And I forget how many games was supposed to be, like, in this kind of grand vision that the maker of Shenmue had in mind. But, you know, after Shenmue 2, there was nothing.
Yeah.
For a really long time.
Right.
And, you know, like, it's like a small mix of luck and the incredible passion of Shenmue's fan base that they were able to get Shenmue 3 made on Kickstarter. And, you know, now you can go anywhere and buy it, basically. Yeah. And, but it's like, still, even though the fact that, you know, Shenmue 3 was miraculously made at all, you know, still, and I haven't played the game, but it's like, it still, like, kind of sets up for further things.
I know, that's hilarious.
And it's just like, dude,
what? You could have finished it.
You could have, yeah. Just try to wrap a little bow on it. Like, you don't know that you could have finished this. So it's like,
they're like, and they end on a cliffhanger of some kind. I mean,
exactly.
Right? That's what I've heard, at least, you know.
Yeah, it is what happens. And it's like, yeah, so, and again, coming from someone who has been waiting for Mega Man Legends 3 for a very long time, you know, Mega Man is still on the moon. They aren't getting him off of there anytime soon.
So that's the man on the moon.
It is, yeah, the Mega Man on the moon.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, you know, if in this magical world, if Mega Man Legends 3 gets made, finish the story. Like, it's yeah, so it's just it's unbelievable. Like, when I think to Yakuza, you know, yes, the game has been kind of going on. You've had this story that's been evolving over so long, but, like, you know, there's elements of, at the end of every Yakuza, pretty much up to after a while, it's just like, they almost all could have ended at that one.
Yeah.
You know? So, kind of like, you know, I kind of can compare it to, like, a classic action movie franchise. You know? It's like, you know, Kiryu is like Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
You know? They just, like, for whatever reason, Bruce Willis finds himself in another Die Hard. You know? And so, like, Kiryu, no matter what, manages to find himself in a Yakuza power struggle.
He just can't help himself.
The man's just trying to live his life.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but it's like, it's an example of what I've kind of heard the term yes and storytelling.
Right.
So it's like, it can be finished, but there's always room that you could add something if you have the opportunity and the desire.
Sure.
So.
I've never heard, I always think of the yes and as like an improv thing.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. That's cool that it can be applied to stories like that too. Yeah, it's funny that they're not like hard rebooting, not even hard rebooting, but just like calling the next Yakuza Supreme or something like that, because they could definitely pull in new people with that. But instead they're like Yakuza 7. It's got Kiryu in it, but he's not the main character.
Right. Yeah.
And they're like, or something.
Yeah.
And
I think this new one it's like technically the title of the game is Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Okay, so it's not Yakuza 7.
Yeah, but it's like, for all intents and purposes, most people just kind of refer
Yeah.
to it as Yakuza 7.
Okay.
I definitely, like, it might be also Yakuza 7. I'm not positive.
Okay.
But yeah, Like a Dragon is the term that I typically hear with it. I mean, who knows when it does get its American release, which is supposed to be happening sometime soon. Yeah. So it is, that would be another perfect starting point,
right? That's
for people.
Yeah, like Yakuza 0 that just came out again and whatnot. So
yeah, and 0 was the start of a beautiful journey.
Right on. Well.
Yeah. Well, indeed.
You know, we talked a lot. We do you have more to add to this episode, Jason?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head. You know, I think we, you know, it's just getting back into the normal, you know, groove of things of just, you know, recording face to face, you know?
Yeah, it's nice.
It is, yeah. You know, we didn't go in with having a super huge topic in mind, but it's just like, yeah, just, I don't know.
Yeah, just talking about what we've been playing lately. And
exactly.
Like, kind of linking that with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's always a fun challenge, is finding a connection between them.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, why not? Yeah, so we'll just wrap up this episode for now, and hope everybody's doing well and still staying safe out there. And, you know, we shall see you again in a little while.
All right, thanks for listening. Bye.
Yep, have a good night, everybody.